August 13th, 2024. This is a regular meeting of the Rio Grande City EDC. At this time, I would like to start at the top of the agenda, calling this meeting to order. An invocation by Ms. Linda Davila and the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. David Reyna.
Father, I ask you to bless each and every one of us here at this meeting today and keep everyone safe. I'm not very much of a prayer, and give everybody the wisdom to make the decisions that we need to make today. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Okay, item number 2, roll call and finding of a quorum.
Yes. Ms. Guillen?
Present.
Ms. Davila? Present. Mr. Mendez?
Present.
Mr. Lopez is absent. Mr. Del Barrera is absent. Mr. Garza?
Present.
And Mr. Reyna.
Present.
We do have quorum.
Thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda is public forum. Do we have anyone signed up for public forum at this meeting? We do.
We have Mr. Ross Barrera here to speak to the board.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. I am Ross Barrera. I'll briefly talk to you in 5 minutes about Fort Ringo. Since one of the items tonight is going to be about tourism, how many of you have been to the Robert Eating House? Raise your hand. The Valley and the state has recognized Fort Ringo as a National Historic Landmark since 1993. It's huge. And like most people that live in the Washington, D.C. area, they've never been to the Capitol. It's like some of us live here, we've never been to the Lehigh. A group of local historians or retirees about 10 years ago started an organization called Revive Fort Ringo in an effort to bring interest to tourism, to preserve and showcase our town jewel. We've had some glitches in the past where the issue has been where the fort belongs to the school district. The school district owns the fort. The school district's mission is education, not historic preservation and not tourism. The city has the role of tourism and to promote tourism. There lies the challenge or the problem. We tried several times to get the school district and the city to form some type of memorandum of agreement, memorandum of understanding, where the city takes over the tourism part of the fort and the school district allows that. That hasn't happened for whatever reason. And what happens when we don't have that and we don't have the recognition that the fort is a National Historic Site even here, we have issues where you have a swimming pool being built in the middle of nowhere with no proper planning. You got demolition of a building with no historical preservation in mind. The city tries to put an ordinance on it or to stop it. They have no jurisdiction. The lawyers already talked about it. So basically what I want to say today is that I think the time is now with you, the new board, to start thinking about how we can crack that nut and talk to the school district and come together to come up with a memorandum of agreement for the future of preserving and doing tourism for Fort Ringo. Now, there's a lot of people, a lot of alumni that they get out of Rio Grande and leave, but they're always looking back to Rio Grande. They come back on Thanksgiving, Christmas, they come to the fort, most of them went to school there, and they're very sad about it. And they still stay in touch on social media. And about 2 weeks ago, this lady from Nashville, Tennessee contacted me. She said that she went up to her attic, of all places in Nashville, Tennessee, and she found this Fort Ringo photo of her grandfather. That used to be stationed in Fort Ringo. She had no clue what Fort Ringo was. She typed it out on social media and she got my name. And she says, I want to give you a Fort Ringo picture. So I got all excited about it because we're collecting a lot of pictures, artifacts that we have in our homes but we don't know where to put them at because we don't have a Fort Wrangell museum. So I want to show it to you real quick. She sent this to me. I'm just going to show it to you. Show them us our historians. This is very, very valuable. This is Fort Wrangell in 1937, right before the start of World War II. And if you're from Rio, which most of us are, you've heard the last names Klein, Yarbrough, Mulvaney, Brown. Those are the descendants. They love the town so much that they married our little girls. And they stay here. So that's the way it's set up. When we do the tours in the trolley with Ms. Reina, the tourists get excited. Fall, winter, the valley booms, thousands, almost 800,000, even more, on all the little mobile homes. And they always have tour agencies that they're trying to find places to take those people on daily, one-day trips. We have to come up with an idea how we can sell Rio Grande, Fort Wrangell, not just a little trolley, but they want something more. So I think the interest with you guys, I'm very excited with all the multiple backgrounds that you all have. I think this is the time that we can start focusing on a real strategic plan on tourism. That I think we maybe set up a committee, I don't know. There's people like Mr. Ramos and other folks out there, brand new teachers who just retired. They want to do things, they want to get involved, and I think we can get them involved. Thank you very much, and let's continue the meeting. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the previous meeting dated Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. I'll give you a moment to look over those, and I'll entertain a motion. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented, or are there any corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
We have a motion by Ms. Davila. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Mario. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, ayes have it. Item number 5 in your packet is the financial report. Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, in your packet is a copy of the updated financial report as of July 31st, 2024, with the balances. Right now, as of July 31st, we're at 83.33% of our fiscal budget. On page 9 on the bottom, that is what we have currently that has not been spent with both the funds of the EDC and the Main Street. On the following page, page 10, we have our revenue. So if you notice, we're at 110% of our budget. So from what we calculated that would come in to what the actual numbers are, we're over that amount, 162,929.43. So we're doing really good on our sales tax collections. Is there any questions on page 10?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Any questions?
On page 11, this is looking at the EDC budget, the different line items. I will identify that on dues and subscriptions, it'll show that we are over. However, that was a payment that should have come out of community promotion. I will have that corrected. I know I already spoke to the secretary about that, and that was a payment that we made for our site selection software, the Site Guru, who will be presenting for us in a bit. So that will adjust itself on the dues and subscriptions. Also, under professional services, there's an overage on that amount, so we'll be looking into that. Nonetheless, we are still under budget. Even though we're showing that we're over budget on those items, we still have monies in different areas, one of them being economic development, and we'll discuss a project that we're proposing, the city is proposing assistance with for that particular line item. It continues on page 12 and on page 13. We're looking at the Main Street budget. I know I met today with our Main Street coordinator, Ms. Yanderi de la Cruz, who will be leaving on maternity leave at the end of this week. So we discussed some of the pending projects and the plans before the end of the budget year. She will be taking her FMLA for a period of 12 weeks, so this office will be picking up the work of that department as well in the meantime. And then,
Are they aware that the advertising and promotion
yes, so
budget is overextended?
I did speak to her about that, and again, that was some banners that were purchased that also should have been taken out of Main Street enhancement, and were taken out of promotion, so I will be addressing that
Okay.
as well. And vehicle maintenance has to do with our trolley. We've had multiple issues with the AC on the trolley. And because we have tours, it's not something that I wanted to postpone as far as getting the maintenance done on our trolley. We did a bit of maintenance before our Sip and See trolley tour. That was a tour that we had out to the Dos Rios winery. So we are a little over budget, and as you know, vehicle maintenance costs have gone up as well. So any little repairs is starting to add up a bit there. And our trolley is a little bit older, but it's still in very, very good condition because our trolley driver, Mr. Willie, is an expert, takes really, really good care of it, and I would be sad when he's no longer around to care for it the way that he does. Hopefully, that's not gonna happen anytime soon because he does take extra good care of it. It's actually in a garage, completely enclosed, so it's not something that we leave outside, so it's very well kept. But that is for the Main Street budget. So things that we're looking at for the Main Street before the end of the budget is we start to prepare for fall and some of the winter decor. So ordering a couple of lights, getting some floral to switch up the flower pots. And they've been changing up the bows at the city cemetery there on Main Street. So getting a few of those things ordered before the end of the budget year to help us into the fall and the winter time. The Main Street will also be having a market in September together with the museum and the tourism department. They put on the Grito en el Kiosco event. That's to celebrate the 16 de septiembre. So they'll be teaming up to do that project. So we'll probably take care of a few of the costs for that event through the Main Street. But again, they're also, they also still have some funds to work on some of these projects. We want to make sure that we get ready for those events. So that leads us to page 15. So this is going to be the purchase orders that were submitted during the month of July. If you have any questions on any of those invoices, please let me know. The top expense, that was the last payment that was issued. The GIS is the site selection software that we'll be getting the presentation on. I think some of those are the higher end items. Do you all have any questions on any of the POs? Okay, on page 16, as requested in the last EDC meeting, I've provided a copy of our credit card statement. In there, you'll see the charges. Floreria Lee was for a purchase of floral. This is when the pots were changed for Main Street. The Texas Economic Development is for a training. This is a mandatory training for the executive director. So regardless, I wanted to hold the spot, whether I'm still in this position or someone else is, at least we've reserved that spot because they fill up very quickly. And there'd be no issue if we would just switch the names. And the last charge there is for an insurance on the reservation, on the hotel reservation. So in the past, they've made reservations for the hotel and double booked, so this is an insurance to ensure that that doesn't happen, because you make a significant trip and then show up and there's no room, so.
And that's requested by,
Also for this trip.
they request an insurance, or they have an insurance option?
They offered an insurance option, yes. So that is that charge. There. Is there any questions on the credit card statement?
No, I think this is a regular item. I'm sorry. Did you have a question?
No, I didn't have a question.
This is something that we had asked for at the last meeting to be included in, as well as the POs that are made out. That's very helpful to us. Thank you for including that in the packet. It gives some context to some of the expenditures, so thank you for including that.
And then on page 18, you'll see that one has the sales tax deposits from October 1st, 2023, which is when we started the budget, and it'll go on until next month, the end of our fiscal year, September 30th. And the page following it is a comparison. So you'll see the 2022, 2023. So you can see the difference of what we received during the month of August this year versus last year. So last year we did notice it was significantly high. I know our finance director, Mr. Cantu, warned us. It was unusually high last year. That amount was the highest that the city had ever received in sales tax at $643,666.12. As a total deposit, there's a separate allocation just for the EDC, but this one is a drop in that at $548,230.64. So we're still doing well as far as percentage-wise throughout the whole year. We're still making more revenues from the sales tax versus last year. So we have the year-to-date percentage there. But you'll see the decrease amount from last year to this year being $95,435.48.
This has been from what I can recall, been the greatest reduction in sales tax revenue received by the city over the last.
Reduction meaning like compared to last year?
Compared to last year, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really not sure what happened last year, but it was normally high, 643,000. That's the highest the city has ever received for any month. It's not normal. Normally our highest sales tax is cut in February, which is the sales taxes for December, all the Christmas shopping. Last year was 643. This year's 548 was still the second highest for the month of August, so it was still higher than the previous years, except for last year. So normally, we normally don't hit over 500 in the month of August, and this year we did. It's been the case throughout the last couple of months that we haven't gone below the 500,000, so hopefully that remains the case in the future.
And there has been any updates as far as reports released, economic reports that give us some forecast? to the
I haven't
regular
seen
meeting?
any, but I mean, as far as our forecast, I mean, it seems bright. I mean, we have IHOP coming in, what is it, Ross,
Yeah,
stores,
that'll pump in some
all
more.
these new businesses coming in, so we should be, continue to see increases.
Mr. Cantu, I know you mentioned last year was already higher than usual, the 643,000. I had a communication with neighboring cities. It was also something happened to them, or just it was in particular to Reagan?
I know we do compare some cities, but I didn't see anything in any other city as far as them being too high. The last time that we saw sales taxes come that high or above normal, they came back and charged us. So hopefully that's not the case this time around. We haven't heard anything. I don't know if you recall the sales taxes on that we're still paying back on, but I mean, it's not that big a difference like last time, but so hopefully, I mean, I don't know, maybe some back taxes for some businesses that were just catching up or
Delinquent.
you know, not sure, delinquent taxes, yeah.
And on page 20 in the packet, you'll see the previous year. So if you look at August, back in 2021, 2022, in August, we had 475,000. So if you see that versus what we got this year, 548, and this is what makes the 643 so unusual, because it took such a high jump from the previous year of 475,000 to 643. So we were all very surprised that year, but it was the highest that we had seen in such a long time period, and you can see all the previous years in that graph.
Yeah. We're actually waiting for this to come because I wanted to see where we stand throughout the whole year. I mean, we're still seeing a 4.5%, which is
Above.
right around where we estimated we're going to be at for this year, 5% increase from sales tax last year.
All right, well, let's keep an eye out on that.
Yes. So on page 21, you'll see that 4.48% that Mr. Leonel was mentioning, and we still have that final month in this fiscal year, so we can see the full year. And that's the end of the financial report. Is there any other further questions?
I do have one question.
Sure.
Go back to page 14. There's the line item, account 729.
Or 727.
No,
Oh,
729.
729.
No, I'm sorry, 727, I'm sorry, yeah,
Okay.
727.
Uh-huh.
Could you explain why wasn't it considered in the original budget, or is it just a misclassification?
On the transfers, Leonel, and other uses, there's an item for operational transfers, dash 2010 CAP project.
Oh, that's interest that's due on the COs. The COs revenues that we got on 2019. So what's the amount?
91,000.
91,000. That's the interest that's due in August. So we transferred that money over from EDC over to the general fund, so we can to the debt service, so we could make the payment.
And the only reason I come back is under current budget, there's zero money allocated to that particular line item.
Right.
Mm,
So I get where you're going at. You have a line item that accounts for the CO repayment right below that, but you draw it from the line item above. You don't touch what was budgeted for the annual payment, so there's
okay, I'm not looking at the report.
Do you want to look at it real quick? I'm sure when you
Yeah, I
see
think
it.
probably technically the
Yeah, memorized. You should have it memorized.
So this budget should reflect.
Yeah,
the
it's
annual
probably
payment.
just miscategorized there, so we gotta go back and put it down in the 729.
Okay.
Are there any further comments or questions? Ms. Linda? No. This is for information, so we're not taking any action on this item, but we're free to ask as many questions as we need to. All right. Well, then we'll move along to item number 6, which is a presentation by GIS WebTech.
Thank you for having me. I'm Ron Bortese. I'm a co-founder and CEO of GIS WebTech. And we provide economic development technologies to organizations across the country, including to Rio Grande City. What I'd like to do, if this is okay with everyone, is share screens and show you the technology. It sits on the city's website and is available for businesses and site selectors who come to the city's website looking for information. And it's also, of course, available for city economic development staff to use as well. And I will just take 1 second to share my screen. Okay, so you should see my browser.
Yes.
Would you mind confirming that you can see it okay?
Yes.
Does everyone see the browser?
Yes, sir. Yes. We can see the browser.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Can you send them in the chat that we can hear him?
I'm not sure if everyone can hear me. If you can, would anyone please let me know? Okay, thank you. Thank you for confirming. So I'm now in my browser on the city's economic development website, and I'm going to show you how you access the technology and how useful it is for businesses who come to the website and for city economic development staff as well. So I'm going to click on this link that you see on the screen labeled Site Selection. When I click on that link, the browser will open a new tab, and the user now is running our app. Now the app is built on a GIS platform. It's map-based, but it hosts a lot of information that's useful to businesses, site selectors, and to the city's economic development team. So the first thing you notice is the app is configured to look like the city's website. It's got the city's logo, same header links at the top of the page, and those are active, so I can click on home and go back to the city's website, for example. The second thing you notice is that the app contains property listing data. We provide the property data through a partnership with a firm called Resimplify. The city licenses the property data directly from Resimplify. We have all the integrations already built, so the property data simply shows up here. So no need for the city staff to waste time typing and managing data. Property listing data appears here in the app with no effort required on their part. You'll notice also that the software, besides property listings on the left, includes a map, and a user can, of course, zoom in and out on the map and look at individual properties. I just want to show you a couple of the features that are really useful for businesses and site selectors, as well as the city's team. I'm going to start by taking a look at the first property on the listing panel on the left side of the screen, Rio Grande Village Tract number 1. I'm going to go ahead and click on that property. That's what businesses are going to do if they're interested in learning more. Now, when I do click on that property, you'll notice the listing panel on the left side of the screen clears, and I get listing information for that particular property, including contact information at the EDC. So I can see Sarah's contact information here. I can scroll down and find the listing information for the property. But take a look at what's happened on the map. The software automatically swapped out the street map for a satellite image and then automatically loaded 5 3D virtual buildings that don't exist on the site in real life. Now the software includes these 3D virtual buildings. The EDC staff can choose to add 3D virtual buildings to properties in the app. If they do, from that point forward, anytime a user clicks on that property, the software takes over and shows them that 3D building, the use case for that property that they have in mind. So in this case, the EDC staff added 3 restaurants and a couple of strip mall buildings just to illustrate a potential use case for this property. Okay, so 3D functionality is all included, and the city can take properties and stage them for particular uses like this one. I'm going to hit the back button on the left, and when I do, you'll notice the software undoes all of that. So just as a business or a site selector who comes to the site doesn't have to know how to turn on 3D, they don't have to know how to turn it off either. They just hit the back button and they're right back where they started. The software also includes a lot of data, all of which can be accessed in the form of reports. At the top of the map, you'll see there's a demographics menu where a user can access lots and lots of business and economic data, as well as census-driven demographic data like population and households and incomes and so on. The software also incorporates workforce data, and this is provided from Lightcast, who's the premier provider of this data. It's integrated in the app. 2-digit occupational code data on the left and 2-digit industry code data on the right. So for example, if I were trying to find where people who are working in healthcare today, I could click on healthcare practitioners, the occupation fields on the left, click on map, and the software is now going to produce a heat map showing me the density of healthcare professionals in the area. And this is by location of residence, not by location of work. So I'll hit clear map and that will close that layer. And then lastly, the layers menu incorporates layers, about 45 layers, data in the form of layers, I should say, that we provide for you right out of the box. Incentives, infrastructure, educational institutions, broadband, and so on. So for example, when I click on incentives, I can see federal opportunity zones. In this case, I can also see other incentive layers that are unique to your area, like qualified census tracts. So for example, I can click on that and I can see which census tracts qualify for particular incentives. And I can click on that tract and find the underlying information. Okay. So this is tract number 48427950602. That's a mouthful, but I can see the information on that census tract. And at the bottom of the the bottom of the layers menu, you'll notice that there's a zoning category. The city has taken advantage of.
Well, while he comes back, has anyone had time or has anyone looked at it? Has anyone
The river parcels, and those parcels will pop up on the screen. We can zoom into those parcels, see some information.
No, I haven't.
Oh, I thought you
So for example, I can click on a parcel, the owner, and other information. So there are many more features in the app. There is the ability to get data in the form of workforce and demographic reports, including a lot of business and economic data, and to get them for the city, as well as from particular areas that a user can select. So lots and lots of functionality, lots of data, lots of tools for city EDC staff, as well as for businesses and site selectors you come to a site. So let me pause for a minute. I'd love to answer any questions, help in any way I can.
Can you ask him in the chat to show us the parcels?
I'm sorry, I can't.
In layers? In layers.
Okay, I see the chat asking for the parcel of the layers. Happy to do that. Let me share screens again. Okay, I'll open up the layers menu. I'll go to the zoning and I'll select Rio Grande parcels. This time I did not select the river parcels, but rather Rio Grande parcels. I can see those parcels are available to me right here in the map. I can zoom to locations that interest me and take a look at the parcels.
And if you click on the parcel, it'll pull up the information of the owner.
How often is it updated?
As often as the,
It's
oh,
synced with,
yeah, it's synced with the GIS that the county has. Right. So another thing that is an option, just like this was uploaded, is any GIS data that the city might have. For example, if it has its water lines mapped out, if it's got, or gas lines, things of that nature, those can also be imported, and you can look at properties and see what infrastructure is running along the property. But that requires the city or the utility to have that data available in the format that the county has.
So we did speak about it during our last training session, because I know our Public Utilities Department had moved on that project to get all the fire hydrants and the major infrastructure GIS. We're checking the compatibility. Luckily, the county's GIS was compatible, so we were able to add the parcel. Now it's just verifying that we can add that. And that'll be an additional layer, so people can see where's the closest utility services, where are the fire hydrants, and we know developers look at some of those items before doing your site selection.
Based on the experience, you guys have, know how often the county updates there? Because I know I've used that on the county and it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's not
It's not
updated. I
updated.
tried to get them
Right.
to update it.
Yeah, that's, I mean, something beyond our control, but they have made improvements and
Yes, they
updates to
have.
it, but there's still some properties, I looked at some this morning that were not identified, they had no information.
Yeah.
But,
And I believe somebody already mentioned this, but just to be clear, when a layer gets included here, this technology actually points back to the county data. So if, for example, the county changes the parcel or changes zoning, it will flow through automatically to this technology, so you never need to worry about this being out of date. It's as up to date as the county's data is.
Yes. Did you all have any other questions? Okay, I think that was all the questions we had. Thank you so much for that presentation.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me to participate in the meeting. If there's anything I can help with, any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you again.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving along, agenda item number 7, discussion and possible action to approve an infrastructure project for the public safety subdivision. We had a little bit of discussion about that at our last meeting, so Ms. Hernandez, will you give us the latest information?
Yes, so during our workshop, we discussed this project with the City Commission and also the EDC Board. This is a drainage project that is necessary at the public safety subdivision. If you recall, the property behind the public safety building will be reverted back to the city for use by this EDC for economic development as an incentive or an area where we could attract some businesses. At this point, there is a swell on the public safety building property. That water needs to be drained out to the creek and needs to pass through that property behind the public safety building, and also a piece of property being owned by the developer. We worked on, previously it was worked on a bid with the same engineers. That project was bid out. So if you see on page 24, that was the probable cost of $209,349. When this project was brought out for bid, you'll see on page 38, the lowest bidder, we had 3 bids, came in at $198,425.86. During the City Commission meeting today, that contract was awarded to this contractor to get the work done, and the city is requesting assistance from the EDC to cover the cost of this project. So this is for your consideration. Again, this drainage will be an improvement to the whole subdivision and will serve as an ideal area for future economic development use.
So if you turn to page 26, you will see an illustration that shows where that project site is. You'll see FM 755, and then you see that red marked area, that's the project site. So essentially what it does, it's connecting that first portion of the property, which is where the Public Safety Center building is at, and it runs through over to Los Olmos Creek. Goes through the property behind it, which is to be reverted back to the EDC. And what are the next steps for that to come back to the EDC, Marty?
I guess we need to get your approval, take it back to council, and my understanding is there's some easement issues, is that correct on this one?
We received the easement back from Troy with some,
Okay, I didn't have that update, I'm sorry.
yes. So we did receive it with some edits,
Okay.
and I believe it's been reviewed at this point. The easement,
I did send back some suggested language
Yes.
to allow us, I've got the language here.
Because I imagine the contract approved by the city contains that easement as part of the project, correct?
the contract,
Yes.
the contract itself does not include that, no.
So when they're building, aren't they building into that easement area
Yes.
as well? Okay,
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. Is
So we
it-
need to provide that to him before he starts the work.
Okay, so the city's approved it with the condition that there's that easement in place, because
That's part of the bid. It wasn't part of the contract, so when we took the project out for bid, it was that
Okay.
the property belongs to the city and we have the appropriate easement in place for them to do that construction work.
okay, that's important that we have the complete property and easement.
Yes.
So that we're able to complete the project as designed.
Yes, so
Right.
as the contractor is working on his bonds, the bond and the paperwork on his end, we're working on the paperwork through the city on our end to get the property reverted. I know a letter was already sent out to the school district with a timeframe. We're reaching that timeframe very soon. And since we're already engaging with the property owner on the easement, we're hoping that those two things happen simultaneously and are ready by the time the contractor is ready to move forward with this project.
Because it's a non-exclusive easement, we're asking for the grantor to give us 30 days written notice if they plan to do anything additional with the easement, so we're prepared. And the other thing was the
reversion of the property.
the
behind it.
reversion, but also just to make sure that we didn't have anything pending as far as the easement.
I understood that all we needed was an easement from Mr. Bathman to complete the segment of the project
That crosses his property.
that crosses his property. Otherwise, we'd be draining to his property.
To
And
his
we need to go
property.
out to the arroyo, which is the intended,
Yes.
Okay.
And
you know,
Mr.
release of this.
Bathman's attorney did send us back the easement with some revisions,
Okay.
asking that it would be non-exclusive, so basically he could, and we're working on that language, that we want to be notified should he grant this easement to another utility or
Right.
for another service.
we'll let the attorneys sort through that.
That will be notified.
Right.
Sorry, it
the
was
good
the
thing
school
is that-
thing I couldn't
I'm sorry.
remember.
Okay, no, and my understanding was that the original deed for that conveyance it was written into the original deed that it would revert back to us once their project was not started. And it hasn't. I think that expiration's already passed, but.
We just sent them a courtesy letter,
Yeah,
so we're,
to have something in writing,
ma'am.
I think that's
So
a
we
good
could
idea.
use that for when we go over and change the name with the appraisal district.
I do have a question. So if approved, this will be a project fully funded by EDC?
Yes, for this budget.
Okay. From, the one we're finishing, the budget we're finishing up, right?
Right,
For
so.
this upcoming fiscal year? For this upcoming fiscal year?
No, for this current.
Oh,
This
that's current.
current.
Okay.
So, so this project would start and, as soon as when?
They're wanting to start during the month of September.
Okay.
Yes.
So then they'll begin construction, payments will start being made. And if we look back at the budget that was presented and the expense report that was presented, you know that we stand, what item was that? I believe it's, five? Where's our, I'm looking for our budget, here we go.
It's on page 11.
Yeah, so if you go to page 9 of 53, you see what we have left this, as of now. And that's in total, that still has, you still have expenses, operational expenses that will be deducted from there. But if you go to page 11 of 53, there is an amount there under economic development, where it's 202-5682-409. That is where that project would be paid out of, essentially. So the funds are available to do the project if it is the board's decision to proceed. I think when we spoke last month, we talked about this property also being the EDC's, and therefore these improvements are our improvements to our property, and they benefit, you know, the public safety center building, which is important, but nonetheless, it's through our property, and it's really an investment in our own land. Hoping that everything checks out with the easements, we should have good drainage that will help both of those properties in that subdivision.
And lastly, on page 39, there are 2 amounts on the bottom. Which one will be the true cost to this particular project?
The cost is on page 38, the 198,425.
So that's the 230 on the following page, is that this?
That was the other bidder.
The second bid?
Yes. We actually had 3 bidders, it's just the third one got cut off, but that other one was at 349.
You could, yeah.
Okay.
And the city signed its contract with the lowest
With the
bidder.
lowest bid, based on the recommendation of the engineer.
Ms. Hernandez, what's the duration do you expect of this project?
I don't know, but it should not take very long. It's just a
It's
straight,
just,
maybe 3 months.
And all the engineering has been paid for?
By the EDC, yes.
Okay, already paid for, it's just basically the
So
construction.
there'll be some engineering costs associated to complete the contract. We already had the engineering contract to bid this project and see it to completion. So we'll see some of those invoices, but that was something that was already approved by the previous board to cover the engineering costs for this project. So the engineers, as this project is being constructed and completed, they're on site ensuring that the contractor is completing the work as specified in the bid.
So do you know what's the estimated additional cost to be paid to the?
The total contract for the engineers was 35,000, if I'm not mistaken, close to that, and I think we paid close to half.
And that includes the oversight of the construction, right?
Yes, it was a full contract. But if you like, in the next meeting, I can give you the exact totals of how much we've paid and how much is pending on that contract.
Any other questions? Linda, you've looked it over, checked
yes, I
out? Okay. So this item here is for action, therefore the motion would be to approve an infrastructure project for drainage improvements to the creek at the public safety subdivision as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Yes, Ian, could
Yes,
we
sir.
include in that motion upon also legal review?
You can
approval?
second the motion, then discussion, and then we can come back and amend the motion.
No, I'll
Okay.
second the motion.
So we got a second.
I'm sorry.
All right, further
Who made
discussion?
the motion?
I do.
Okay. Mr. Garza, Mr. Reyna, and now we can come back to the discussion to amend the motion to include legal review. So that has been, we have an amendment to the motion. Do we need to second that motion?
Yes, ma'am.
So do we have a second?
I'll second.
Was that you, Miss? Okay. Sorry, I just hear over here. Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Mendez and a second by Mr. Garza for the amendment to the original motion to include legal review.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion?
Just clarification, you want me to review the cost and bring it back to you to make sure it conforms with the original contract?
Anywhere within the timelines to discuss this, or you can take it to our president or the management. Make sure that there's some technicalities between the city and this property that are in place.
That everything is all our, our T's are crossed, I's are dotted. And I'm sure the city's doing the same thing.
Yes.
As it's preparing for that conveyance, so.
I mean, anytime is the issue, I guess, to bring it up to them, there's enough time to bring it back to the board or to the meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
If there's any issues that come up, thank you. All right, so we have a motion, a second, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to item number 8. On page 40 of your packet, we have a public hearing for our projects for this upcoming fiscal year 2024-2025. And I believe for this, we have to call the time. It is 6:21 p.m. and I shall call this public hearing to open at 6:21 p.m. The items that are on the work plan for this next fiscal year, as noted and posted, include projects in infrastructure, tourism development, economic development, community promotions and marketing, and Main Street enhancement. This is where we ask if anyone has any comments to make for the projects that we have listed in this public hearing. Are there any comments?
Do you want to set a time limit, Madam President, as far as how long your public hearing will be? Typically, it's 3 minutes.
I'll leave it to 3 minutes so you can think about any questions or comments you might have. You're keeping track of the time? Okay. I didn't. And I will just add that throughout the year, as projects are discussed and developed, this board is able to come back and amend the work plan with any additional projects that come to this board for consideration. So this isn't set in stone, but it is a requirement that we notify the public if they have any comments to make on any of these projects. We're here to hear it. We're good? Okay. Being no comments, I will close this public hearing at 6:24 p.m. If at any time the public has questions regarding our projects, they may contact the EDC office by phone, in person, or by mail. Item number 9 is discussion and possible action to approve the Rio Grande City 4B EDC fiscal year 2024-2025 work plan. This is what we just had a public hearing on, and this is an action item. Therefore, I will need a motion for this particular item. And I don't know if there's any questions.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On the H2, RGC Hospitality, why are we moving it to 2025-2026 budget? I thought that was for this upcoming budget.
I'm sorry. What page was that?
44?
44. Okay. Ms. Hernandez, would you like to comment on that?
Yes, so when working with the budget, I worked with Mrs. Guillen on trying to get the budget balanced as closely as possible. And we spoke about when we felt some of these projects were going to take place. We do have an active 380 agreement with the owner of this property. As far as the start date for this project, I know it's been moved several times. So in an effort to balance our budget and prioritize the projects that we know are already programmed and ready to break ground. I know we just recently had the one from IHOP and they're on there as well. We did remove it for now. If he does happen to come in and work on the project within the budget year, this might be one of those that we need to amend the work plan for.
So we can come back and amend it, correct?
We can.
Because to my understanding, its infrastructure comes from us and it's the occupancy tax from the city, correct?
Yes, so he will be reimbursed for some infrastructure on that project. That's what the agreement consisted of.
And that's the first thing he's gonna knock out. So I'm more than sure that he's gonna come asking for that as soon as possible.
Yes. So even though it's not on the work plan, he does have a signed and recorded 380 agreement. So it does not impact that we're not going to assist him as outlined in that 380 agreement. It'd just be something that we need, or this EDC board needs to look into whenever that project does get started.
Is there a time frame stipulated in the 380 agreement?
No.
So he has the ability to go into construction whenever?
Yes.
He has no 6 months to do this, no, there's no time frame. Okay. And that 380 agreement, is that been uploaded
Yes,
online?
ma'am. I went ahead and uploaded that one and the one for IHOP, which were the two that I worked on since I started.
So there's no expiration on it?
No.
Okay.
So therefore, given that there's not a timeline associated with that agreement, he can come in 3 months, he can come in 6 months, he can come in 1 year, he can come in 2 years, he can come in 3 years to start this project. I feel as if though this recommendation to place this on the side until we have a better indication of when he intends to construct is going to help us balance this budget. If we should come back throughout the fiscal year to entertain this contract, because by no means are we saying we're not paying, we have an obligation. It's just we'll have to come back, we'll look at our budget then. We might have projects that we did not get to conduct or expense. Therefore, we have some of those monies to pay from the current fiscal year. If not, that is where we look at our fund balance, and if we need to make a transfer of those funds to cover this cost, then we can look at that point. But I'm not worried as far as us not having the funds available to meet this obligation. I think that so that we propose a budget that is not in the red, that we proceed with a budget that just sets it aside for when the time comes. It might be that we're not paying this out until next fiscal year. We do not know.
We could be the following year.
Yeah, but we do know that Mr. Hyder has permits and will initiate construction, so we know for sure that's going to happen. So that is included in this project budget.
And I'll verify on the 380 agreement. I know the previous attorney had put some language as far as an expiration for paying some of this out. I want to say it was either 3 or 5 years being maxed out, but I'll verify and I'll send you all that information. Because he was careful about putting an expiration date.
You want to take a look at that as well,
Yes.
to make sure you're not
Yes.
leaving it open-ended and you have someone dragging their feet.
Yes, because when I entered that agreement into the system with the comptroller's office,
asked you for an
it did
expiration.
ask me for an expiration date, and I did have one, now that I recall. But I don't want to misspeak and say it's such time frame, because I don't remember exactly.
Got it, sorry. Good question. Are there any other questions? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the work plan as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Now second.
Mr. Mendez, Mr. Reyna. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it, motion passes. Item number 10 is your discussion and possible action to approve the Rio Grande City EDC, 4B EDC fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. And of course, this budget will start October 1st, 2024 and run through September 30th of 2025. So this budget should coincide with the projects outlined in the work plan that we just approved. Keep in mind that at any time, should we have to come back and make some changes, that is something that we can do. It's something that we don't advise to do often. I know that Lionel on the city side does maybe an amendment or two throughout the year. We usually try to align ourselves with that process. But Ms. Hernandez, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, so in your packet, you'll see that this form looks familiar because this is what we started working on during our workshop. I did make some adjustments so that we could balance the budget because the last time we were all here, we were a little over $100,000 or such. So I went back and revisited some of the projects. Mrs. Guillen was kind enough to assist me with that review and discuss some of the projects and where were areas that we could save, and also to include the grant match for the Main Street project. So that wasn't included previously. So I was working with that deficit and adding those additional $50,000 to cover the grant. But luckily, I don't think we cut corners on any of the projects. We have a good, healthy balance. And just for reference, for Main Street alone, for Main Street salaries, utilities, and everything that it's going to take to run the Main Street and the programs you're looking at, from that final total, deduct $160,435. That's just in Main Street. The rest is all for economic development. So the cost that we incur for Main Street is not very much, and I know that they propose new projects that we were able to accommodate into this budget as well. And we looked at some of the advertising and promotion and some of the things that we discussed were the Chili Showdown event. So I did leave some monies in there for that project. But everything is pretty much included there from what we discussed. There is an opportunity for some small business grants that go outside just the Main Street, because as you recall, we're offering the facade grants, but those are mostly for the Main Street, reserved for Main Street businesses. That continues to be there, but we're introducing some small business grants, and some monies were allocated for that project. Also, the return of the lunch and learn, because we discussed about wanting to help small businesses with seminars and such. So we did also include some money so that we could start working and bringing those projects back.
For the lunch and learn, Sarah,
Yes.
I can talk to you about it, because we do it with the bank also. Maybe we can partner up.
Oh, that'd be great.
We can work together, because we already have some slides that we can use.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Well, I know Commissioner Barrera offered some of the board members to be speakers, so.
We've already been voluntold.
Yes.
And I think that there are people, businesses and industries in the community that have partnered with us in the past to cover some of those topics. So for example, I can think of one really impressive one that we had with Allstate Insurance, that talked to our small businesses and entrepreneurs about having the proper insurance in place. And you know, there are businesses out there that have many years of experience and want to share that with others. So they will, if approached, more than likely can help with those topics.
Yes, and we actually have one this month on the 20th for customer service, teaming up with SBA, the Public Library, the Industrial Foundation, and that's going to take place here at City Hall. So we'll be inviting businesses so that they can join in on that seminar that's going to address customer service, because we know how important that is. for retaining customers, and offering good services at our local businesses.
Can we get that flyer out to the hospitality, businesses out there? They're the ones that visitors see first when they come in. Yeah, and so I know it's a little hard for some of our restaurants to send staff, but if they can, I mean, that's who greets our visitors, that's who greets our residents when we go and have,
I think
lunch
that would be a
after
good
church
way
or-
for us to hand deliver some of those invitations.
Yeah.
So I'll work on that. Good idea.
And then as far as the business grants, we had talked about adding some funds to that, but also refining the process and qualifications. So that's something that maybe can be brought back to the board so we can take a look at that and see what we're, where we're at with some of that.
We can work together on the application and the qualifications
Like
and,
a scorecard.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah,
can
I
provide
think
some
a-
samples,
I think
'cause-
a point system is the easiest way to go.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments about the budget?
There is something that will change in this budget after we have taken action on it, and that may be the insurance for the EDC personnel. That is because the city is undergoing, I don't know if we're changing insurance or their pricing changes, but that's expected to happen here before the new fiscal year starts or by the time the new year starts, right, Leonard?
Yeah, there's some price changes, but they've already been incorporated into the budget as far as what the increase is going to be. I'm not sure, you're talking about the employees or?
Employee insurance, correct.
Employee insurance,
So
yes.
that is not reflected in this budget. At this time, the insurance cost is the same as the last year, so if there is gonna be an increase, it's something I need to add.
Okay, so you didn't incorporate it in that one, because I had
You had
already done
provided
it.
me an approximate cost of 4,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I had already done it, but it might not be there. But if it's not, then there'll be a change to it.
Let's make sure that that is,
Yeah, that-
reflected in this budget. If we need to make some modifications to it, Sarah, I mean, it should be something very minor that I believe you have the discretion to look at and reduce to make the budget balance. At the end of the day, we want it to balance. We want to make sure our employees have insurance, and I'm sure you'll find those.
Yes, so worst case scenario, it's about $4,000, so I'll look for areas that we can slim down a bit to cover those 4,000.
And then also, if there is any increase in staff pay for city employees, that also comes over to the EDC employees as well as an expense in this budget. But I don't know if you guys have.
They have
No,
had they've
I don't
had the
think it'll
committee
affect
meeting
any.
and it does not affect any
Yeah,
of
I don't
this.
think it won't affect EDC.
If and when that
EDC.
does happen, it'll come back to us to look at, so we can make those changes.
There will
as
be
we go
a, what do you call that, December incentive?
But that's already included.
It's already
here.
included, in there? Okay.
Okay,
Because it's the same, it's the December cost of living
Cost of living.
adjustment
Okay.
payment that we give the employees.
and that's already included in here?
It was with last year's budget.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would be the same.
All right.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
No, we're good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Are we happy with 0?
Yes, I'm very happy with 0. Now we just need to get
I
this.
almost lost the last bit of hair I had, but we got it to 0.
So this template or this format of aligning the expenditures always helped to kind of see how those things break down. The city has a format that they use, which is what we were looking at previously, the expense report. So Sarah, you'll translate that
Yes.
into that format, so everything.
So I spoke
is
to
in place.
Lionel about that already, about sitting with him and working on the city's in-code line items to have it match and reflect this budget.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of work.
It is.
Okay. All right, this is an action item, so therefore I will ask for a motion from this board to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Very well. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Who was that?
Um,
Okay, Mr. Reyna. With a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. We have a budget. Next item on the agenda is adjournment, and I'm sure everyone's eager to get home to dinner and family, therefore, this time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We do have to.
Oh, yeah.
Mario, there we go. We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. It is 6:40 PM. Huh? Who provided the second? Mr. Garza. All right.